The so-called super committee, made up of 12 members of Congress, is rapidly running out of time to come up with a deal to cut government spending. So what happens if they don't come up with a plan, and how would it impact you? 24-hour News 8 political reporter Rick Albin is here right now with what could happen. Rick?
The 6 Republicans and 6 Democrats are still trying to hammer out a plan to trim $1.2 trillion from the federal budget. That would be over a 10-year period. Keep in mind that budget deficit's about 14 times that amount, so it gives you some idea of how big the problem is. But just getting to $1.2 trillion in 10 years is proving to be an elusive goal. If the committee doesn't come up with a plan, or if Congress can't pass a plan that they do come up with, there will be automatic cuts more or less across the board. But representatives and senators made sure that there were some protected groups, even if those automatic triggers go into place. For example, if there is no deal, the $1.2 trillion of cuts would come equally from defense and non-defense discretionary spending. That means that across the board, agencies would simply not get the money that they were expecting, and then they'd have to cut spending accordingly, though the debt limit deal that created all of this coming drama did not specify what within an agency should be cut. What will not be cut? Social Security benefits, Medicaid, and veterans benefits would not be cut under the automatic withholding. But this may not be a case of all or nothing at all. It's possible the committee could come up with some combination of cuts and taxes that could meet at least part of the criteria laid out this summer. In other words, instead of coming up with the full $1.2 trillion, let's say, just for example, they came up with $600 billion in savings. Then the across-the-board cuts would go into place, but at only half the level of withholding, a partial deal of sorts. Will that happen? Well, right now, there's no clear way of knowing, but we do know this. The super committee has to have a deal done, and soon. By a week from today at the latest, maybe even earlier. The deadline's actually not until next Wednesday. But all this plan would have to be reviewed by the Congressional Budget Office to make sure any plan really achieves the goals of saving that $1.2 trillion. That will take at least a couple of days. Then the full Congress has until December 23rd to sign off on it. But given the holiday schedule in place for the federal government, there aren't very many days to get it done. In fact, there are less than 14 scheduled days in the House alone, as an example. Now, they can add days, of course, but in any event, time is growing short, and the ultimate outcome of this forced austerity is still very much in doubt. Brian?